If you would like more videos made on the Israel Adesanya vs Jan Blachowicz fight, then be sure to show this by smashing the like button. Thank you for joining me once again and welcome back to KKTV. In this final installment of my Israel Adesanya vs Jan Blachowicz breakdown series, we will be taking a closer look at the ultimate breakdown of this fight, in which I will be giving you the tale of the tape, my own personal fighter cards, a full breakdown of the fight, and then at the end I will tell you who I think will win come fight night. And so with that being said, be sure to leave a like and subscribe with the bell notification turned on so you don't miss any future uploads, and let us get right into the video. Starting with the tale of the tape, immediately all the advantages on the paper beside one will be going to Israel Adesanya ever so slightly, being 7 years younger than Jan Blachowicz and having a 2-inch height and reach advantage. Adesanya come fight night should be just a little bit more rangier than Jan Blachowicz, where Jan Blachowicz will have a serious advantage in will be coming down to weight. I am fairly certain that Israel Adesanya will be coming in around 200 pounds more or less, and Jan Blachowicz will be coming in at 220 pounds minimum. It is very interesting to see a fighter move up in a division and challenge for a title but not meet the weight limit, coming in underweight in a normal fight, let alone a championship fight. So it is very interesting to see how things will play out. And now let us move over to my own personal fighter cards. Starting with the challenger, the last stylebender Israel Adesanya has an overall rating of 91, with 96 striking, 82 grappling, 95 stamina, 89 chin, 94 defense, and an 88 physicality attribute. Clearly, Adesanya's great standout attributes are striking and stamina alongside with defense. Adesanya is truly one in a million and a spectacular, legendary genius of a striker. Moving over to the defending light heavyweight champion of the world, Jan Blachowicz has an overall rating of 90, with 91 striking, 88 grappling, 91 stamina, 90 chin, 87 defense, and a 93 physicality attribute. Jan Blachowicz is a very well-rounded mixed martial artist who is more so a striker than a grappler. Putting them side by side, Israel Adesanya has a higher rating, coming in at 91 to Jan Blachowicz's 90, which should be no surprise since Adesanya is a tremendous champion with a lot of skill. However, this fight is taking place at the light heavyweight division, and things such as physical attributes, power, and strength really come into play. And so let us now move over to my breakdown part of this video. Coming into this fight, we have to know what to expect. Israel Adesanya is an outside rangy counter striker who at the middleweight division had a natural size advantage over most of the middleweights he fought. Being a more skilled fighter just in terms of skill alone, add on top this huge height and reach advantage, he truly became a very difficult fighter to deal against. Seemingly his defense was almost hard to break. And now moving up, he's fighting a fighter who is about the same size as him, just edging him out in small measurements, but being significantly undersized against him in terms of weight. The real question becomes how effective will Israel Adesanya be? We know in terms of skill, he's just way ahead of Jan Blachowicz, but as I have oftentimes said, you don't need to be the better fighter to beat the better fighter, since in the end, this is a fight, and more importantly, this is a mixed martial arts fight in which there are so many ways to victory. And for Jan Blachowicz, the most important part for him is to fight in this manner that truly elevates his overall MMA game. And what I mean with that is this: Jan Blachowicz, in the manner that he fights, is patient and explosive and to some extent rangy when he starts to utilize his kicks. Now, he is patient in a manner of he will slowly but surely walk you down. He is not light on his feet. He is not a fighter who is hard to track. He is a stationary target for the most part. However, when he is stationary, he tends to go ahead and utilize his leg kicking game, which really helps him out tremendously. However, that is against common light heavyweights who are most of the time pretty slow. And so trying to catch Israel Adesanya with a much slower leg kick will be a big task for him. And so Israel Adesanya will immediately have the speed advantage. He will essentially be seeing everything that is coming at him more clearly and will have a lot more replies ready than what he had at the middleweight division against these quicker fighters. And so then the question becomes, okay, what can Jan Blachowicz do to have success against Israel Israel Adesanya. And from my understanding of his fighting game, it really comes down to being able to slowly but surely walk Israel Adesanya down, use his size to smother a few shots, and starts walking down Israel Adesanya to then explode into range with his punches, which will really be the most effective thing that he has in this fight. Yes, sure, he will have his jabs and straights, but Jan Blachowicz is not a knockout fighter in the sense of being able to knock you out with straight punches from a far distance. He has to really come in close and really turn his shots and put really a lot of weight behind it and really leverage each shot after the other in a chain combination method. And so this will require him to be in the close range. And luckily for him, being naturally bigger than the middleweights he's fighting, he's gonna have an easier time coming into range, which will help him. By utilizing his own leg kicks or try and set up the leg kicks, he will have Adesanya take a few steps backwards. And from there, as he explodes into range, where he likes to start off with the straight and then come over the top with the left hook, and then perhaps finish it off with the body kick, which will be the most rangy attack that he has in his arsenal, and I believe which will be the most effective weapon he has in his arsenal, will come into play then, and it will really be a game changer in my opinion. Adesanya is prone to getting hit with body kicks and head kicks, and so he really has to utilize this. Being naturally bigger as well, he will also demand a lot more respect from Israel Adesanya, and therefore Israel Adesanya will have to fight a more effortful fight to maintain success in this matchup. Oftentimes when fighters move up in a division, they really have to put in twice as much work to get half as far compared to what they were able to do in the lower division that they came from. And I am very interested to see how this will affect Israel Adesanya, who for the most part has had the natural advantage of opponents respecting the range from the get-go. Obviously, he then had to establish his skills to maintain that distance. However, immediately in terms of the first step, he already had that to his advantage. Great example is Yoel Romero. The man didn't even try to come in. And so against Jan Blachowicz, it will be very interesting to see for me how he will deal with this. However, now on the flip side of things, Israel Adesanya is going to be having so much questions to pose against Jan Blachowicz, where it comes down to whether he's utilizing his feints, low kicks, set up a question mark kick, feinting with his jab and then popping it, things of this nature. These are really the greater details in the fight that truly make the bigger difference as a whole. And so if you're going to ask me who I believe will be dominating the range and the amount of significant strikes landed, I will have to say that Israel Adesanya is that fighter, because overall I do believe that Jan Blachowicz will be holding on to a pretty low strikes landed accuracy, at least in the opening few rounds, depending on how the fight will go. If he will start to find his range and break down Adesanya, then obviously that percentage will pick up. But at least in the opening of the fight, I do believe that Adesanya will have that advantage and will be able to outclass Jan Blachowicz to that extent. And then the question of how will Jan Blachowicz deal with frustration come up. In my opinion, and out of everything that we have seen out of Jan Blachowicz's career, if you're going to be taking a great example of what frustration did to him against Thiago Santos, we will see that throughout the fight, Thiago Santos was able to leg kick him, stay at a distance, pop him with jabs, and then all of a sudden when Jan Blachowicz realized that he was losing and he really had to do something drastic and he rushed in, he got clipped, dropped, and knocked out cold. And so aside from the fact that he got knocked out, the method and the way that he dealt with his frustration speaks volumes. He decided to just rush in the manner that he always does when it comes to his punches when he's trying to close the distance. He just kind of walks in with his shots, has an open guard, free shots to be hit, and he just bulldozes through. Now, Israel Adesanya is not a Thiago Santos. He does not carry that amount of power, explosivity in him that I believe is necessary to knock out a fighter like Jan Blachowicz. However, Adesanya does have enough power, accuracy to make you respect him. So in that regard, I do believe that Adesanya will be hitting him flush, hitting him clean, and hitting him consistently. But on the flip side of things, Jan Blachowicz is going to be significantly heavier come fight night. These are all interesting questions. However, coming back to other ways that Israel Adesanya can pose a threat is in his defense. His defense is tremendous. His striking defense relies on a great deal of range. He has tremendous reflexes and defensive head movement and footwork to get out of danger. And also when it comes down to grappling defense, he's pretty good at that as well. However, everything that we have seen was at the middleweight division. And against a much stronger opponent, I don't believe that Israel Adesanya is going to have a easier time defending anything. So we'll see how things will play out come fight night. I'm really looking forward to it. But now with that said, let us now move over to who I think will win come fight night. Initially, I was very certain who was going to be winning this fight, and I am still picking that fighter. Israel Adesanya, in my opinion, will win by way of a judge's decision. I don't know whether it will be a unanimous decision, majority decision, or a split decision, but I do believe that he will get it done, mainly because of the fact that he is skilled enough, in my opinion, to utilize his speed and his range and his versatility in his striking to maintain superiority in a striking department, which will then allow him to also be able to defend incoming takedown attempts. Now, I am not certain or confident when I say that I can expect him to defend a takedown or take a big shot or deal with the range as well as he did at middleweight. I wouldn't be surprised. Whereas in the beginning I was certain that he would win for about 85%. Now that has dropped down to a 55%. Breaking the fight down, studying all the footage that I have seen, and taking the jump up in weight more into consideration, this really becomes a more close fight than people will probably give it credit for. However, if Jan Blachowicz was a little bit more well-rounded in the striking department and not as telegraphed as he is, I would really give him a little bit more success in that regard. I do believe that he will be making it a competitive fight just based on the sheer size alone. I don't expect him to really carry a lot of skill with him with what he does, even though he has a skill that he has, which will obviously come into play come fight night, but it will mainly be supported by the size difference he has over the middleweights Adesanya has fought. And so things like Adesanya getting taken down and being kept down and getting submitted are actually legit options. You know, Adesanya has gotten taken down by Kelvin Gastelum, Rob Wilkinson, Yoel Romero, so he's not a fighter who is prone to getting taken down. And also looking at their mannerisms, both fighters to a certain extent are counter strikers. Adesanya more so than Jan Blachowicz, clearly. But when Israel Adesanya throws his shots, for example, he always throws it with at least setting up the shot with a feint or getting the reaction out of a fighter. When he is the fighter coming forward and pressing the action, he really has to think twice. Whenever he tries to go ahead and throw a shot without a setup, throw a shot naked, it always seems to be coming back at him wrongly. Look at what happened against him against Kelvin Gastelum, for example. He was getting countered a few times. Against Anderson Silva, he was getting countered as well. Against Yoel Romero, he got countered big. And so the real question becomes, at a light heavyweight division, if he can't demand the offensive respect from the opponent, how will things turn out defensively? Because the more time he spends on the defense, the more time Jan Blachowicz has to figure things out, figure out the patterns, figure out how to get in. And as soon as he gets in, then the real trouble begins. And so in that regard, that is why I'm dropping the likelihood of Adesanya winning to a 55, but I'm still giving him the advantage because he's such a skilled fighter. But in the end, only time will tell what will truly happen. For now, I have been Keenan from Keenan KTV. Leave in the comment section down below who you think will win come fight night, and I'm signing off. Later.